And welcome back, everybody, to the Neoncaster Twitch channel. I still am, forever and always, your androgynous android game show host from the future, Nathan Blades, to the second part of Under a Cage Star, a tale of coastal horror in MORK, BORG. Yeah, we were lying about this being a sunny and fun beach episode. Sorry.
It's your fault for getting tricked in the first place.
You know, you just saw that we were running this system in a thing that's inspired by doom metal, and of course it was still going to be cheerful and friendly. To run through our players once again real quick, we have our GM for the session, Tom.
Hello.
We have Ruben playing the walking fusion of several bodies, H.C.E.
What's good, pimps?
We
just got demonetized.
We just the shit. But we were never monetized in the first place. We have the southern gentleman who's absolutely not a colonialist, no sir, Cuthbert Williamson, played by Draco.
Hello.
We have the grizzled but also very caring Vassar and Moira, played by Wheels.
Howdy.
And with all of our introductions out of the way, we are going to go back to the Roll20 for what happened last time. Take it away, Tom.
Very much. So, our intrepid group of adventurers hired by the extremely not dubious Executor Shaela to go and investigate the geothermal rig platform Nethys. The players, having accepted the job, did a minor bit of shopping in Fathom's Edge and had a little bit of a chat with Captain Anya, who was able to fill them in on a little bit of the details of what may have gone down on the platform Nethys, where communications had been lost and the previous group sent to investigate horribly taken apart by some strange drone system that had popped up upon the rig, which wasn't there previously. Our brave party landed and were quickly set upon by some of these drones, though being made of much sterner stuff and higher skills than those that went before them, quite quickly dispatched the majority of the attacking ones in the area. Investigating a little bit taking apart some of their attackers, they discovered that the drones were some horrific amalgam of flesh and metal, either grown or made by architects unknown somewhere deeper on the rig. Investigating into the habitation decks, the players came across a scene of destruction and devastation where they identified that there'd obviously been some horrific accident or incident had happened on the rig itself. Signs of destruction and fighting evident amongst the various levels of the habitation decks, including a locked and sealed entranceway to the engineering levels. Now, as the players progress further in, heading towards the command centre to hopefully find answers to what truly happened on platform Nethys those weeks ago. So we shall clock back to platform Nethys and change ourselves to my dungeon. No, leave us on for now. Okay, so you have managed to progress your way through the winding corridors of the hab decks to what you'll identify as the command center. There is a door with, so it looks like one of those steel bulkheads, which looks like it's been locked. There is what looks like a communications buzzer on the outside of the door, and you can see a camera that's dotted just above it. It looks like it's looking down the corridor.
Well, what do you think of the odds that there's somebody on the other end of that camera?
Is the camera still active looking, or is it just sort of hanging dead?
It looks like there's a light flashing, albeit faintly. Looks like there's there doesn't seem to be much power in this area of the rig. It looks like things are operating on, I could probably guess, like emergency power, if that makes sense. But yes, the camera does look like it's functional.
Well, at the very least, something is seeing us. We should be polite about it, I think. We just go up and knock, perhaps. Maybe ring the buzzer.
Well, I was considering going through the process of maybe counter-hacking and seeing what was on the other side, but the last time that I tried that, and we get a very brief flash to the sudden vision of hunger and meat when Gordian tried to interface with one of the drones previously, and she seems hesitant to try and reattempt.
Sensible. Okay. I assume the party's approaching at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. As you sort of step closer and you feel sort of more into the field of the camera shot, the comms by the door will crackle somewhat to life. And you'll hear quite a laboured voice. It sounds very tired, but still a bit of a strength to it. So, you be the Executor's cleanup crew then?
Yeah?
I suppose so, yes.
No!
3 yeses and a no. I suppose I can take that chance. There'll be a thunk noise as the lock comes up for the door, which will slowly swing open, bringing you onto the command deck switch. Sort of a relatively large room with lots of consoles and things dotting around. At one point, this probably had quite large windows that would have looked out onto the outside of the rig, but these all look like they've been quite heavily barricaded up. Sat in the room as a relatively large gentleman who looks like he probably hasn't eaten in weeks, who's holding himself to life by sheer stubbornness more than anything else. And he's holding what looks like the most homemade of weapons you've ever seen. It looks like a gun, but it's made up of what looks like scrap and things that he's managed to cobble together from presumably around the rig. His breathing's quite hoarse. He's got sort of dark marks under his eyes, and one of his arms looks quite messily bandaged. You can see scraps around of wrappers from what look like quite stale bits of animus that he's presumably been sustaining himself here for the last few weeks.
Figure you've seen some of the bots then.
Figured indeed, he'll say. He'll try and pull himself up. Given that you've not immediately tried anything, he'll lower the homemade weapon of sorts, so it's no longer pointing in your direction. Name's Wally Dustat, chief engineer of what remains of this platform.
You were one of the people we were meant to link up with, I believe.
Indeed. Alongside Drebin Mars, if they're still alive.
Drebin went. He was one of the first to go, I'll say, shaking his head. He'll look up. There's almost a level of accusation in his eyes as he meets your gazes, or what passes for your gazes in some characters' cases. I'll say.
Oh, well, what direction did he go? What did he go to investigate?
It all went mad. About track of the time now, we'll say. Feels like weeks ago, maybe months. No, only weeks, he'll say. He looks at the last shipment of animus, you see. There was something in it. It was poisoned. The entire day shift, who ate it, went mad. Started attacking each other. First with their hands, and then their flesh started flowing like candle wax. After hours of chaos, those of us who were still sane managed to fight them down and lock what was there into the engineering depths. We struggled to get things back under control. We were reduced to barely a third of our population, if that. Tried to contact Fathom's Reach, but they ignored us, I'll say. Again, that sound of accusation coming into his voice. Be days, maybe a week later, we lost control of the rig. He'll gesture towards some of the consoles, which still sort of lit up. Still got minor power, but the majority of it's the reactors under their control now. About a week after the attack, things started bursting out of the pipes and the vents, massacred who were left. Me and a couple of others, we managed to barricade up in here. I was the last one, I'll say. Someone had to stay alive, I'll say. Something that probably resonates a little bit with you can see a level of guilt in his eyes, Tom, with obvious anger, but a lot of tiredness overlaps in that.
She says,
"Oh, go ahead."
Moira says, "Yeah, I know how that goes. I've been the last one a number of times myself. It's never fun. Am I missing something here? You said they went mad. Then you said stuff started busting out of the pipes. What's the missing piece here?
Also, how come you aren't mad?"
Those of us who weren't on the day shift hadn't eaten the tainted animus. We had some stores of the old stuff left. It took a few more people going before we realised what it was and what was causing it.
Ah. You weren't curious what it would be like?
There was nothing left of my boys, he'll say, bowing his head slightly. Whatever it did to them, they were dead while they were attacking.
Oh.
You said the flesh started flowing like wax, I believe. How did you get them into... how did you herd them into another area if they were so sticky?
It wasn't instantaneous. Some of them succumbed while they were down there. The majority of the shift had started. It was just a massacre, I'll say. Some we battered down before others made it up. We got the doors locked.
Is there any of that animus left? The tainted stuff, I mean.
All of it was stored in the depots by the port side. So,
still some of that remaining. You should burn it or something.
Yeah, well, I've kind of been locked in here for a while, he'll say.
Then we'll take care of it, won't we?
I mean...
I thought you already had lunch.
I'm not proposing we go and eat it. I'm saying we should pick up a side hustle. A mini investigation.
I must say, if we do manage to extract you, Mr. Dustat, and we let some new crew move in, if they happen to find canned stores of animus that ain't been touched, and they decide to crack it open because they get hungry, well, this would just be a pattern that keeps repeating, wouldn't you say? So, maybe disposing of what's left is a sensible plan.
He looks to you in a sort of... probably, I think he may not have grasped some of the machinations that may have gone on here. He'll say, this was done to us deliberately. Shaela's hand, I see in this. Kill off our crew. replace them with hers.
Huh.
Though I don't think she was probably expecting the results to be quite this devastating to the rig. She wouldn't want to endanger her precious project of Fathom's Edge.
To be quite so effective, no. So is that the way to address this, the source of this problem? We're problem solvers, but we need to devise a stratagem.
He'll turn it somewhat slowly to the displays and units around him. Says there's a massive drain on the turbines near the reactor. He'll say, gesturing to a sort of wireframe model of the rig. The reactor's been running like mad for the past 2 weeks, but none of the energy's coming up here or limited going to here or Fathom's reach. There's something down there, whatever remains of the crew.
It sounds like it wants to die if it hasn't been releasing any power anywhere.
I don't know, he'll say.
If it's keeping it all for himself, or itself, if this stays unchecked, it might subsume the whole building. After all, most of this is mechanics, right? And if this thing's MO is to go and fill the mechanics with meat, there's a whole lot of empty cavities to control. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yes, you did try to fit in one of those pipes earlier.
Oh, yes. Well, in the greater scheme of things, I am starting to see the metaphor of the structure as something for myself. A mirror.
Yeah,
It's quite enlightening.
You've not been one for the blending of man and machine, but I wouldn't necessarily say that this was a great way to generate empathy for folks like myself.
Well,
Yeah.
what do you say we go teach a reactor how to share?
Always the educated, Moira.
Well, you'll nod, breathing somewhat heavily. I'll release the maglocks. Best of luck to you.
Little group huddle. So,
Oh, I thought you were gonna say group hug.
okay, let's bring it. Moira, let's bring it in. 5 arms. You want more? I can grow more.
Perfect.
Okay, so now while while Moira and H.C.E are hugging, I guess they go. So we were told to wipe the slate clean, as it were. Are we going to provide this one with, well, amnesty?
I'd rather have a rig than whatever Shaela is gonna pay us.
Oh, like a forward base. Exciting.
I mean, Shayla said to go and dispose of anything that wasn't running the station. And I think Mr. Dustad here wants to kind of keep the station running, wouldn't you say?
Saved by semantics. Shall we direct him to the boat then?
At least for the, I mean, Mr. Dustad seems pretty safely holed up in here. And we might need somebody who's got an eye on the security cameras, you know what I mean? What we can do now, though, is, and Gordian, like, rummages around in their, like, pack and produces Gordian's first aid kit. Multiple people have them, but we're gonna, I want to use Gordian's, assuming that they're a one-use item, to patch up Dustat, you know, for the future, in case additional assistance is required.
He'll be actually quite grateful of this. Obviously made of different stuff than your employer.
I mean, I'm made of different stuff from a lot of the people in this room. But Cuthbert is the biological expert. He'll be able to patch you up. Just don't look as he does it.
It's always best to look away from one's wounds. Might I offer a bit of rations for you as well? It's much more filling than the animus itself. I think you might enjoy that a little more.
He'll happily accept some level of the first bit of human contact he's had in weeks. You can tell, obviously, tired and stress has taken its toll on him. But physically, he's, as of the food, will probably bring him back to some measure of strength and a little bit more fire in his eyes.
We need this motherfucker focused if we're gonna need as much help as we can get.
He'll say that if you can stop whatever's blocking the flow from the reactor, and he gets the rig online, he should be able to bring the lights and the comms back on, which will make getting up from the engineering decks a lot faster. Once it's all dealt with.
Shall we then fast forward through patching, or is that a thing that requires a roll?
No, that's fine. I'll just assume you've got between you the skills to feed him and provide him some level of it does look like the way he'd been locking the door has probably come apart a little bit now. It was more of a barricade setup, but presumably if you're going down and cleaning things up, he should be a little bit more safe, though he'll obviously close the door once you lot have headed down.
Right. Into the belly of the beast, I guess, potentially literally.
Were you wanting to have a look in the depots at all, just as it was mentioned about the animus?
Oh.
I know that...
So
I was going to say, Cuthbert's definitely going to want a sample of that. Must be studied, you know?
A fine vintage.
I shan't be partaking of it myself, but, you know, it's any aberration in the formulation of animus can be useful if used correctly.
Pause. Thinking, okay, so, like, Gordian would be convinced to go and look and see if there's any corrupted animus left, but I think if you depending on the way that you frame that argument to do so, they might disagree, but it might require careful wording in a way that Cuthbert's probably cognizant of. I don't think he's so he's quite self-obsessed, but maybe not so self-obsessed to realize that shit's on edge. But
well, I mean, you know, to fix a problem, one must understand the basis of the problem. You must do thorough testing in both directions to create control and an experimental variable, and you understand these things, Gordian. I'm sure it's much the same with data slates and understanding their inner workings.
Cuthbert, my dude, you're speaking my language, and it's not violence for the change. I would love to accompany you to investigate the animus, if these two unscientific knaves refuse to.
Oh, hey, I have no problems with it. A lot of good stuff happens from leaving something out too long. That's how we got penicillin, animus.
Yes, exactly. Those two things. Wow, Gordian, looks like you're a party pooper.
Gordian scratches the side of their cube in a kind of like, well, shucks kind of expression. Look, take whatever samples you need to, but we need to destroy the rest.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You wouldn't want to leave something like this just sitting around. Anybody could get into it. It's very dangerous.
Absolutely. H.C.E. winks with 3 eyes.
Okay. So presumably you head off, Wally will close the door behind you, and you make your way quickly through the hab decks towards the port side and the various storage depots. You will note these have been absolutely savaged by presumably the same things that have wrecked the crew. You'll note what was probably the animus storage, and these boxes have been torn open and absolutely stripped down to pretty much nothing.
Drat.
Nothing here.
Oh, like it's like all of even the tainted stuff has been wiped clean here?
Most of the tainted stuff, yeah. You'll probably note like pretty much similar signs that you've seen from in the habitation decks around the piping and things. You suspect whatever took the the bits of the people is also taking the animus as well.
Well, somebody took a liking to it.
Leave no biomass unturned, I understand.
Something occurs to me, just as a player, and I think that it would be well within Cuthbert's wheelhouse, just because of the fact that he brews animus. Could I do a check to see if there's any evidence of like mycelium around, like a fungal trace sort of thing?
Yeah, go for it. That seems probably. In fact, yeah, go on. Let's have probably a dexterity-based check, I think.
Agility.
Okay, so agility then.
Agility, yeah. Oh, very good. You might be able to find like enough for like a sample tube trace of this stuff, perhaps. You've probably, at least in your experiences with Animus, heard tales of blighted animus, which, as you certainly everything you've heard so far is definitely corroborating this, where you'll get things over melding and kind of just losing themselves a bit. But this seems to have been a bit more extreme. You would suspect this has been possibly either knowingly or unknowingly to Executor Shaela, probably quite a lot of effort to get Animus to do this specifically. It wouldn't be something you'd be able to do accidentally. Animus going bad or just the like would just be poisonous and just do generally unpleasant things to you. Actually turning things into horrific meat and metal zombie monstrosities has a certain level of plan behind it.
It's a more complicated dish.
Well, this is quite a bit beyond just, letting a little bit of animus sit in the sun and go bad. This is almost as if someone specifically modified this to almost make it part of itself. Animus is a barely controlled substance on its own anyway. It wants to be something more, and this seems to have achieved it in some way, shape, or form. It's very strange. Very intentional as well. The odds of this happening naturally are 1 in several billion, I would say.
Suppose that tracks with what our new friend was reckoning.
Yes, indeedy.
I kind of dread to hear or find out what Shayla's end game plan is. I mean, having control of one of the largest ways of giving electricity to the neighboring area is a pretty big power move. But it sounds like this one was a co-op before.
You know what they say, power's power.
Yeah, I've been there before. The corporation has made a number of grabs of power, but not so, craftily as this. They tend to be a bit more direct. Still, if there ain't
Down to
nothing
the engineering we go, or we got more to do here?
No, I think I'm quite fine at this point, too. Everything seems to have been cleaned up by itself.
Don't look so disappointed, Williamson, son.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can start progressing onwards. You notice it's probably started to rain a little bit outside, probably only mildly acidic. You're very used to this, just to fit with the mood. And you can start making your way into the engineering decks. So we shall make sure I'm on the right token layer. Roll 20, you have too many buttons, especially when it's been a long day. There we go. Not that one. There we go. Let's go and change the music again as well, because we've got a long playlist. I should make sure we're losing some of it. There we go. Okay, so you find your way into the engineering decks. These labyrinthine quarters wind down into the depths of platform Nethys. it's an absolute maze of corridors, ladders, various survey points, and lots of borderline arcane machinery, which some of which you may understand how the operations of, and others which are completely foreign. As you start progressing down, you feel like you're making very, very slow progress. Other than the fact it gets notably warmer the longer that you keep descending. And you can occasionally hear the odd clunk in the pipes and various metallic scrapes, but don't seem to encounter anything just yet. The sort of pressure of the darkness and the constant feeling of getting lost, backtracking, and making your way through locked doors and the like starts to take a little bit of a toll on everybody. So I'd like everyone to make toughness checks, please.
Oh, I'm really... Take my word for it, Tom. I'm really tough.
Hey, check how you found what.
Ooh. Moira. Oh, do you remember that everybody has an omen point that
yes.
you can use to re-roll if you are unhappy with the circumstances you are in?
Yes,
Well,
yes, yes.
I'm pretty unhappy, so I might as well do that if there's.
Yeah, I think I'm going to re-roll that as well, because 5 on his best stat is not a great thing.
No. Well, we'll have appealing to the gods of fate and seeing what listen. That's better.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
19 is better than 3 for sure.
Yeah. Okay, you're all actually.
No, I haven't
pretty-
told yet. I was...
Oh no, you have not. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just assumed you were fine.
Exactly.
I mean, you told me it was. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
Gonna...
No, I'll play
Very
for
trusting.
Hey,
Wonderful. So of all of you, Gordian's probably feeling this the most. Almost the feeling of like the pressure of the sea that's surrounding you on all sides, the heat, and just the general darkness and sputtering lights. And as I said, just this feeling that are you actually making progress or just getting more and more lost? Didn't we pass that safety station about an hour ago? And it starts to grate a little bit, but you've been through hard things before, and it's not actually going to provoke any penalty from you at this point.
you can hear a fan increase in speed and volume as the coolant system inside Gordian's cube means that the humid air here starts to like condense slightly on the lower vertices, which then trickle onto the exposed tongue.
Lovely.
It's warm in here. It's a little bit.
Moira hands you her handkerchief if you need it.
Yeah, Gordian dabs off his tongue with the handkerchief and hands that back to you.
No, you can. It's yours now, I think.
I'm not one to talk, but that was weird, Gordian.
Hey, look here. I'm trying very hard to maintain operational clock speed while in these conditions, and in the kind of like this moment of kind of breaking tension slightly, he stopped focusing necessarily on what's kind of ahead as he like wheels round whilst starts walking backwards, reeling round in protest. I'm trying really hard to kind of maintain operational functionalities here. I mean, if we run into another locked computer system, for example, and...
What, you're gonna have a freak out again?
Hey, look, I figured that if we ran into one of those drones and I could understand how they worked when we run into another one down the line, I would be able to maybe give them some form of control, direct them to attack their allies and things like that, but I'm not so sure how handy I would be to do it the hands-on way, if you understand what I'm saying.
Oh, well, that's assuming electricity can talk to meat, or make it do what it wants.
It seems you fucking can down here.
Let's worry a little less about that, how that last fight went, and keep going forward. I think this is still forward.
And
Fairly certain we've been going in the correct direction, yes.
Gordian spins up the magnetically controlled dagger in their right hand and gouges down one wall, making a hideous metallic scraping sound, but there is a very obvious gash in the wall now.
Echoes throughout the empty corridors that you find yourselves wandering through.
There! Now we know where we are! Are you happy now? Audibly more stressed than they were like 2 hours ago when this descent walk started.
I've never known unhappiness, but thank you for asking. Yes, I am.
Well,
it's the mesolimbic reward pathway.
Yes, I understood.
Brilliant. Okay, you continue your possibly reinvigorated a little bit, having had a bit of a chat with each other through the labyrinthine hallways of the engineering decks of the rig. And you'll find yourself something. You think you're getting closer to the reactor, but not quite there yet. Not actually. No, certainly a few levels off, but you do find yourself in a slightly more interesting area, which is a little bit more open. As you sort of come down a flight of stairs into almost what looks like a service area. You can see large glass steel windows that look out into the fathomless depths that you currently find yourself at, where various lights outside illuminate one of the legs of the rig, slightly in the sort of murky distance. You also see what looks like several racks and probably say an airlock. It probably gathers it's almost an area for poor unfortunates or to have this job to go out and do any maintenance work on the outside depths of the rig.
Man. Just how deep are we, anyway?
Are there any suits that would have been used for that airlock anywhere nearby?
Okay, so presumably you start heading down into this area if you're going to have a quick look. It looks like a lot of there would have been one suit, which looks like there's like there's sort of one storage locker which is currently empty. If you progress forward and look into the actual air service bay itself, the airlock itself. You can see a face down body in one of these very heavy duty suits, sort of locked between the outside of the depths of the sea and the presumably hellscape of the interior of the rig. It'll be at this point that the party will hear a large clunk of metal on metal, followed by another one and another one coming out from the massive piping that makes up the back of this room.
I assume it sounds like it's getting closer.
Yeah.
Everybody ready?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, is this combat time?
Well,
Cue
whatever's
the
down
music,
here,
I think
it's
so.
probably not going to be a person.
I think it might be. I think this was the requested piece, if I remember correctly. So, stepping out from round the corner, quite different from what you've seen previously, is a giant mechanical creature that appears to be made almost entirely of metal and ossified bone. A large lump of flesh that almost beats like a heart on one side of its chest is exposed. Its face an odd mix of several skulls, leaking some liquids, and one arm sort of trailing behind slightly. A flail almost made out of a sphere of like ossified bone. It starts clunking towards you with purpose and murder in its intent. Well, let's go for... In fact, I'm going to roll a dice. We'll go for high, the players are ready for this, and low, the monster gets to go first. It seems we were both expecting each other. Okay.
well.
Yes, well, so the entity, reacting with some... it starts clanking towards whoever's in front, who I'm going to assume is probably Moira.
Yeah, I think she was like there, like ready for whatever it was, and then the thing comes around the corner, and it's way bigger, and like it's way bigger than the last one, and I think that's what takes her off guard, and that's why we're not able to act as quickly. As it's like, oh, we were ready for something, but not this.
It's probably a good 9 feet in high, and oddly
Yeah.
bulky in places, but rickety in others. It will swing this flail round at you, in a very lumbersome manner, which may be relatively easy to dodge, but you suspect will hurt a lot if it hits you. So we shall have a dodge check, but join the difficulty of 10.
I assume dodge is going to be agility somewhere.
There's a defend roll in the agility
Oh,
section.
defense. Okay.
If it asks for the dice, it is D8.
Oh no!
Okay.
Don't get hit.
Yeah.
You have defended because it is. You only needed to get 10. In fact, it's 12 because H.C.E is giving you mysterious pheromones. This
Right.
flail swings past you, smashing a huge dent into one of the sort of survey equipment boxes that are nearby, leaving a huge hole in it, which will then sort of wrench its shoulder back, pulling it back behind it, readying itself for another attack. And then we'll move to the party.
I'd like to add that the H.C.E smoke smells vaguely of peaches. Whether that's cyanide or just peaches, I'll let.
Does cyanide smell like peaches? Is that a true thing about cyanide?
Almonds, isn't it? Sorry.
Almond, was it? Okay.
Yeah, almonds.
I've heard almonds, yeah.
I'll use my terrible chemistry degree occasionally. I
I'm corrected.
If
I
may
assume
go
that means you have a
first.
degree in terrible chemistry, which fits within this universe.
Exactly that. Yeah.
If I may go first,
Yeah.
in the run-up, Gordian is like, I hate doing this, but it seems like it's necessary, and kind of like doubles over slightly in pain, and everybody can see like multiple metal like spiked talons erupt from the middle of their chest and slowly lift the upper left-hand side of themselves away. And it seems that that part of their torso, as well as their left arm, is actually an entirely separate drone to their body, which probably explains why Gordian's HP is so abysmally low, because there's very little body to give health. And these additional talons stick into the ground, 8 of them, while the arm itself rears back like a scorpion's tail. Gordian's personal defense drone, Not, is ready for combat instead of himself.
Yep. Feel free to make an attack with it. I think that's fair for use of your actions.
Sure, let me just double check what stats this thing has. Personal defense drone, small, follows you at all times, attack and defense DR10, scything rotor blades D4. Okay. So, I guess I make I assume it uses my stats, so I'm making the strength roll modifier 0, trying to beat 10 to attack a thing with it, I guess.
Yes.
Well, that's a 10 with the +2. Thank God.
It is. That will connect with it. I'm just going to roll a d4 myself for miscellaneous reasons. Okay. The blade manages to catch across the pulsating chest cavity piece, which seems a lot less armoured than the main body of this thing, though a smaller target, which you appear to have looked out and connected with. Roll your damage, but as I said, there's considered no armour.
Slicing. Ooh.
Hey! Good solid chunk as this rotor blade slashes across, sending a causing the thing to stagger back one step as you do so. Whoever wants to go next?
You
Moira
shaking
can hit the thing.
Yes, go for it. I was just making commentary.
Yeah, I talked before about Moira's reflex mace, but I think we get more of a zoom in on it this time. It's like unlike a gun or something where you need to like cock it. There's a similar mechanism here to get the reflex engine going, but Moira has to like kind of like shake it behind her head to get it going like a Polaroid or something, and then there's some sort of activation whir that she hears that she knows it's ready, and just goes in for a low sweep of the legs on this thing.
Very Devil May Cry. I love it.
Yeah, it's like it's a gun blade, but a mace. Amazing.
Yeah. So let's see, strength roll, right? Or do I guess I do the damage. I do the weapon thing. Enemy armor, what am I looking for there?
Just leave it as blank for now, because it's...
Okay.
You can, having noticed Gordian hitting the smaller area, having by fluke, you can take a swing, or you can try an aim shot, which may be harder.
I'm just gonna go for a simple attack.
Okay.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Finally some luck here. I got a nat 20.
Very good. Okay, so if you want to describe your attack, I feel that's as this is some sort of flashy crit.
Yeah, sure. I think I said I was going for the legs, so I think what happens is that like I strike the funny I strike the knee of this thing in such a degree that it ends up maybe connecting with what's left of the nervous system and kind of hitting it at a spot that creates some mixed signals for its cyber neural system and kind of sends it falling, is my hope.
Yeah, the hit you think cracks the armor slightly, so you manage to avoid again some of the extremely heavy plating this thing's got, and it stumbles, slamming one hand down on one of the support pillars from the platform above, which will bend slightly under its crushing grip. But you do look like you've dealt quite a lot of damage to it at this point. So then we'll move around to either Cuthbert or H.C.E, whichever of you wishes to go next.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So the cyber beast, the cyber demon is now toppled over, or like kneeling.
It's slightly kneeling, yeah. What official name did I give this? Oh, Shambling Amalgam is the...
Shambling amalgam. Okay, well, shambles. I think H.C.E sort of sidles over to it, to its right side, and just kind of like appraising the lump of ossified bone that it has on its right arm. And I'm gonna try and rip that thing clean off.
I like it. Go for it.
That's gonna be a strength check, I imagine?
Yeah, we'll have that.
Okay.
They want the orb.
I want Orby. That's an 8 plus 2. Oh my god.
Okay, so I'm going to have you roll some damage, I think, is probably best way to do this. Let me just... So you're a D4, isn't it, for
my, for generalizing. So I just roll my damage die?
Yeah, please do, yeah.
Okay, enemy armor, 1d0.
Yeah, leave it at 0 for now. I'll
And no shield?
No shield.
18. 2.
Ooh. So there's a sort of cracking and breaking noise as some of the various sort of pseudo-metallic tendon things start breaking. The arm sort of hangs a lot more loosely, but you've not quite fully managed to remove it. But again, given the fact you forced it into an awkward position with the setup, there's supposed to be sort of putting it into some sort of a disadvantage. You're now setting up for Cuthbert to decide what he's going to do with the thing.
Well, no time like the present to try out a new pistol, shall we? And Cuthbert will try out his new officer's plasma pistol. What was the armor on this thing?
It's technically medium, but as I said, you can do a cold shot if you want to attempt to negate. Be DC 14 if you're trying to hit the more fleshy bit of it, or you can just go for its medium armor.
I think I'm just going to go for it.
Okay.
Oh!
Okay.
Or I can cause my new pistol to explode. That's also fine. Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, it turns out that this fantastic, lovely pistol was probably more of a display piece than an actual practical piece of equipment, unfortunately. There'll be a hiss and a sort of noise from it as it sort of dribbles unemitted plasma, so narrowly missing your foot onto the floor, and appears to have decided that it's not going to work again without a bit more of time to repair.
Oh, plasma stains. They're so hard to get out.
Dribbling through like several decks, water rushes in.
That could be a problem later.
Okay, so this thing sort of shamble on the floor, slowly having its arm torn off by H.C.E, having taken a huge crack and a slash, sort of lets out a scraping metallic roar, and with a massive wrench, sends H.C.E flying off it back a few feet, apparently going into some sort of berserk rampage. The heart sort of flesh lump on its chest sort of seems to pump more vigorously, and it'll sprint, taking a less focused flail towards H.C.E and probably Moira, who I assume is attempting to thing. This will be a normal dodge from the pair of you, as this thing appears to have gone berserk and is now attacking a lot more indiscriminately.
So agility, but I have to roll 12.
Correct, yeah. You'll still have your +2 for this round.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Oh.
no, that's exactly 12 for me.
Okay, so you'll be knocking one off this damage. H.C. and Moira will want to roll for it. And 4 damage towards H.C. and 3 damage towards Moira. I'll go to 3 on H.C. as this thing claws at your chest as it sort of stamps past, slamming into Moira with its main flail, leading closer and trying to press you into almost the floor as it attacks in vaguely animalistic rage.
Friends, I'm half dead now.
Do I get my armor roll on
You
it?
do get your armor roll on that, yeah, absolutely.
So I
Okay,
take-
so you,
only
2
take
points
two.
damage, yeah.
Actually, I have a shield. What does that mean?
That'll knock 1 off the damage, so you'll take 3.
Oh, that's what that did. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And this thing sort of reels around looking like it's going to attempt to rampage around the room in a bit more of a fit of unpleasantness.
He just bumped his toe.
Yeah.
While its back is turned, Gordian, with their remaining functioning hand, does kind of like very quickly traces geometric shapes in the air with one finger, leaving like a purple neon trail behind it. And the drone responds and tries to drive this stinger-like hand / saw blade directly into the shambling amalgam's back.
Okay.
While it's turned away. So let's go make a strength roll. Perish. Shit.
Okay, so yeah, I kind of like the idea of your drone whizzes in. The core sinks between 2 sort of metal plates on this thing's back and then sort of jams there, so the drone's sort of there banging against the back of this amalgam, but maybe a little bit stuck and relatively ineffectual.
That's fine.
Next meat, please.
Since it's not standing right next to somebody, I'd like to try something. Would using one of my animus potions, would that be something I could just chuck at it and...
Absolutely. It
Okay.
does what it says on the tin. No attack rolls
Okay.
required.
Wasn't sure if I would need to actually like go up and feed it this thing, but if I'm allowed to just chuck it, then yes. Everyone, watch your heads as Cuthbert tosses a sun-spoiled animus at this monstrosity.
Jimmy, you horrible spoiled animus splashes all over the back of it, sinking into the joints and things. What's the check on this one? It's a toughness test, isn't it?
Yes, it's a DR14 toughness test in order to be able to function normally, and it's going to induce vomiting for D4 hours.
I do not want to see this thing vomit.
Oh, it is apparently unfazed by your animus attack.
Dang.
Presumably it leaks into just joints of nothing more than bone and metal, and unfortunately it was ineffective.
Well, can't say I didn't try.
I have a turn yet this round, right? I don't think I've gone
Nope, go for it.
yet. This will probably count as a called shot. What I'm trying to do, I talked before about how she has to like rev up her mace. I think what she's gonna try, noticing like this thing's heart, how like aggressively it beats. I imagine half of the mace's attack is from the reflex engine and half is just from hitting it. She's gonna try to just jab the mace into the heart, so the heart's own beating keeps revving the mace up, and at least doing like revving the mace up so that it keeps doing the reflex bit of it, and
I
over
like
and
that.
over again from the motion of the heart. Yeah.
Yeah, no, go for it. We'll have an attack roll from you then for.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll be. Oh my god.
7 rot.
Whoa. So, you'll.
But I
have
don't
a
think I
plus-
hit, right? Or I guess I with +2 maybe. I don't know.
So you'll strike the thing, but it won't hit the heart. Unfortunately,
Okay,
it will
yeah.
sort of strike quite hard against the armor of this thing. Which, it does reduce some of the damage down, but this is a very
Sure.
solid blow, which staggers the thing again. It sort of shambles it down again, probably onto one knee, but catching itself with a pounding thump with its hand into the ground.
Can I say now that it's like no longer standing straight, that now it's eye to eye with Moira. Moira's quite tall.
Absolutely.
She's just glaring right at it. Like, what are you gonna do? Make a move.
Nice. I believe round to H.C.E. now.
I would like to continue bone extraction.
Okay.
The operation must continue.
You can't say that every turn.
Oh, crazy.
Carry on with Operation Bone, H.C.E. Fine.
I've nothing more to add. I go straight for the bone. So I roll strength again.
Yep.
This is my third combat, right?
This is only your second.
Okay.
We've only had once the Animus X again. That'll be the third round.
Yeah, that no more pheromones for the rest of you.
After this one.
okay.
You have to do it your own. Let's roll this. Heck yeah!
With you taking advantage of the fact that once again Moira's very solid strike has sent this thing reeling. You take the opportunity and wrap your arm around this bone flail and wrench it from the metal, almost like.
Hold on.
So-
Rewriting.
Oh, please do.
I'd like to say that I like grab like the what's already been dislodged, and from I grab it with both arms, and then from underneath the poncho you see like a third, a fourth, and a fifth arm emerge and grab sort of like the underside and wrap around it. These arms are way more sinewy, way more wet, I want to say, as they like pull the orb closer, and until it sort of like disappears underneath the poncho.
It's nice. Okay, you have acquired the Amalgam's Bone Flail. You're probably actually very well set to use this. You may use it as a heavy one-handed attack, which deals a whopping D8 damage if you choose to attack with it. One of the better weapons I rolled up for this thing. The Amalgam still going, although very much on its last legs at this point. Will begin wildly flailing. I think you're probably asking for it. But I think it's going to sort of probably move in a sort of almost crawling, rolling fashion, flailing at as many people nearby. Again, it's probably going to be H.C.E and Moira. This time it's exceptionally hard to dodge, but it doesn't have nearly the amount of power behind it than did previously. So if we can have a defense roll on a 14, please.
Oh my god.
As this thing's getting...
After you, Wheels.
Yeah. And you said what for enemy damage? 1d8?
No, the enemy damage this time is only going to be D3 because it's
'cause it doesn't
basically you've wrecked it so much that it's...
Oh no.
So,
Oh no, Moira's still gonna take the hit. Rolled a flat 1, which I guess means double damage and armor.
No, you rolled
protection reduced by
a
1
3
to
minus 2. Oh, that's not a critical fail. That's
I see. You're right. It's not a fumble. Yep, good point.
Yeah. No, that's
Lucky.
fine. So yeah, your armor sucks the. You've got so you take 1 point of damage from it.
Okay, my turn. So 1d3. I hope I don't roll 3. That's a 9.
Okay, so you take 1 point of damage from it.
I'd like to use my what is it called? Omen. Yeah, to minus d6 damage. Basically, just because it's 1 damage. Can I just say I use the Omen to ignore it?
Yeah, no, that works for me.
Okay.
And I get my D2 armor, right? So
I think the formula's taken that into account by the looks of it.
I see. That would make more sense. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I also have let's see. Whenever you use an omen, there's a 50% chance it is not spent. So, I just flip a coin, 1d2, see if it's
Which is
spent.
heads.
Heads is I keep it. Tails is I lose it. So 1 is keep it, 2 lose it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woo. Nice. Okay, round to the party again.
I think the not the scorpion drone is like the hand blade stuck in the back of the amalgam is trying to spin up to speed so it can essentially cut its way back out.
Okay.
As we go and make another strength attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Your drone managed to dislodge itself, but doesn't appear to have done any damage to the amalgam.
It kind of skitters away and kind of stands next to Moira and leans forward in a kind of like shh, kind of hissing way, even though no sound comes out.
Okay, next.
Awesome.
How far? Like, would I be able to reach H.C.E?
Yeah, H.C.E's pretty much quite close. In fact, you're both probably relatively close to this thing. I think it's skittering around a bit. It's not a big combat area, to be fair.
Then I will go ahead and apply a purified animus. Here, have a little bit of this, H.C.E. I believe it should help you get back up on your feet.
Thank you. I'll gladly accept your gift, and to show the goodwill of such, I invite you to partake later.
I'll think about that. I'll think about taking up on that. But here, have some health while we're at it.
You work that basal ganglias on that one. I'll sip on this in the meantime.
Okay, healing properties of Cuthbert's extremely refined animus will stitch H.C.E's bruised flesh together very quickly, covering 5 health.
I like the idea that the shoulder mouth opens and just swallows the potion bottle whole.
Yeah.
Just crunch.
Yes, which one should I pull? Oh, this one. Excellent. Okay, there we are.
The shoulder mouth opens and it goes like, "Hey, thanks, Bubba."
Bad.
Hey, bud, give me the juice. Bud.
Okay, so I think we've still got Moira and H.C.E left for
Sorry, how much does that heal me?
5.
5. Oh my god. So I'm just back up to full, baby. Gordian, you can go first.
Excuse me, I was taking a sip of water. That would be Moira. I've already had my turn.
Oh, Moira. Sorry.
Right. I think Moira wants to hit it.
It's sensible. It's been working quite well so far.
Yeah. It ain't broke. What's that look like? Scroll down here. That's not gonna do it. Only a 3.
Unfortunately, it's the thing flailing around a bit. It manages to somewhat nimbly evade. Probably more accident rather than design. The mace coming crashing down. Right, H.C.E, your move.
Yeah, I would like to unveil the new orb, which I have I've absorbed into my entire system. So I think from
It's just in new orb.
new orb
Out now.
You got the Super Smash Brothers alert.
Oh my god, is it finally Toy? Has Toy arrived?
Excellent.
Toy is here, and
Now more spherical than ever.
more spherical and more eyes than you'd like. No, I unveiled a bone flail, and I'd like to whack it around. So that's another strength roll for me.
Mhm.
I did not expect to become the DPS of the party. This is very enjoyable.
I did try and make sure there was a smattering of weapons and armor in the dungeon for pickups.
Yeah. When you said ossified bone, I just went for me. That's a 10. Is that enough?
That is enough to hit it because it's as a quite easy to hit, but is armored. So if you want to roll your damage,
I would love to. Where is it? Oh, that's 4. It's not gonna cut it from him.
Your orb is a D8, isn't it? Oh
Yeah.
no, that's the defenses. Ooh.
yeah,
So, okay.
yeah, just roll a d8 room for damage.
Okay, enemy armor is still 1d0.
It's d4, so you can roll it rather than me. I don't know why I'm getting over eager and rolling.
It's okay. I'm glad you're getting so into it. So I'm gonna do this. Bone flail, motherfucker, smash. Damage -3.
Oh.
I heal him. What?
Oh, because it rolled a 4 on the defense and you dealt 1 damage. So.
Oh shit! I love the idea that it takes some of the bone back.
I don't. I don't love this idea.
Okay, thematically, I'll reroll.
Bone as far as Moira's
No,
concerned.
that's fine. It's basically you've cracked it with the orb, but it's connected with one of the armor shoulder plates and hasn't managed to do actual damage to anything vital.
Can I reroll?
You may re-roll, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because you still have your omen point.
Yeah. 2 of them. So let's try that again. I re-roll the armor as well. Or just
You just re-roll. If you press the button again, it should re-roll the armor too, I think.
Okay, yeah, so... well...
Sadly, it was not meant to be, as this... fortunately, however, for the...
I lose my omen as well. Dang it.
Fortunately from the party, the spur of activity that's been forced by this creature over the last round, there's a sort of wet noise, and it suddenly collapses, blood sort of leaking from the chest as it shudders a bit longer, but then subsides, and silence once again returns to the docking bay that you're currently in.
Oh, it
Wait, did
pumped
it just
too
die on its
hard.
own?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it had a couple rounds burst of activity, which you did manage to proc quite early, but
I see.
expired as it was running on empty.
Ow. Sweet morsels.
The
That's quite
the
worrying.
drone scuttles back towards Gordian and kind of climbs up her body and reinserts itself with a as Gordian wiggles the left arm, extends the fingers. Yeah, no, we're back. We're back. Ugh, very uncomfortable when I have to do that.
Oh,
You cheeky cyborg. I would have never guessed you were hiding something so useful as that.
Yeah, well, it's good to not play a full hand until it's absolutely necessary. For the most part, y'all have been pretty good where I don't have to do any fighting myself.
Well, fair enough. Quite fascinating, nonetheless. But does anybody else feel a bit uncomfortable with how quickly that thing went down?
Blew its own heart out, as far as I could understand.
it's not got a great circulatory system, that's for sure.
Again, once slightly closer to it, like the although this is a bit more different, I said it consists of like bones from presumably rather a lot of the crew melded with metal with some large amounts of flesh, but again the flesh is rotten, it's old, it's very dead. There's no life in it, it's purely stimulated by the whatever the animus had done to it.
I don't figure this is what was taking all the energy from the reactor. Do you?
No. I think there's something much larger, deeper within.
Well, I guess that means we have to go push ourselves a little bit further.
Okay. You were having an examine of this room as well, because there was the person or thing in the airlock.
That's true. There's this kind of the fact that there's a dead body that hasn't been, I don't know, reconstituted for parts is a little suspicious. But maybe it ain't made of flesh. Maybe it's one like me. And Gordian, stumbling a little. I think they're a bit physically disoriented when they have to detach half of their own being like that. Now put back together, kind of stumbles their way back over to this face down, vac suit.
So you'll be able, the door will you'll be able to open like one side of the airlock. So I don't know if thalassophobia is much of the thing of like giant looming metal structures out in the crushing depths, and presumably like odd tiny little fish and things gathering around the lights that are on the outside of the rig. It does give you a scale of the enormity of the thing.
The kind of like actuators and servos and Gordian's joints have been getting quietly but persistently worse as we've been getting deeper, as they've not been handling the pressure quite as well. Even in this kind of counter-pressurized building, it's not perfect, and it's definitely old, so there's a slow amount of strain that's been increased as we've been getting deeper, and now with a probably more shaky hand. I guess we're making a presence roll to inspect the body?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sure. Boop.
Whoa.
12.
Oh, great. Yep, hang on. So you very easily come to the conclusion that whoever was in here was presumably someone who possibly didn't eat of the poisoned animus, and when everything went bad, attempted to flee. And you can actually see, looking round the door, scratches and dents where it looks like things have tried to get the door open, but he's either managed to keep it locked. Unfortunately, all this appears to have done is presumably bought him a few more days before he's eventually succumbed to thirst. As there's no visible injuries on the body, it's just some man of probably middle years. The outfit he's wearing, the reinforced diving suit, as it were, which is quite well made, although a little bulky, will count as medium armor if anyone wants to acquire it.
No.
I'll take medium armor if no one else wants it.
All right.
Knock yourself out.
No, I was about to suggest that myself. You're quite a frontliner, and having you a little better protected would be a good idea, I think.
Mhm.
So that means I just go from tier 1 to tier 2 on my character sheet. for
Correct,
armor,
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so you'll have is it D4? Yeah, the dice roller will do it. So
Sweet.
Gordian dispassionately disrobes this man of the vac suit. I guess, but also the humidity and pressure of this room meant that decomposition is probably considerably faster than this was on surface. So putting this thing on after this man's worn it is probably not great. But hey, armor's armor.
you're suspecting it's probably actually not as bad as you think. 'Cause the chamber that he was in was pretty much next to the sea, and that area just feels a lot colder. So it's probably not great by any stretch, but yeah,
It'll do.
it'll do. Okay.
H.C.E. There's a whole guy there if you want one.
Oh, well, I'd rather not overindulge before we've reached the end of the mission. Maybe as a dessert.
Can't eat before you go swimming. I get it.
Hmm. And, I'd like to leave room for, whoever wants to who elects it rather than just I stumble upon.
Mm.
And I look over at Cuthbert.
What? Well, I'm still considering, old chap.
Mhm. Yes, well, you keep considering.
Don't you want to be part of the divine flesh, Cuthbert?
Well, perhaps once my own flesh begins to fail, yes, but right now I'm rather interested in pursuing my own interests. It's hard to do when you're
Oh,
yes.
common misunderstanding. You see, your flesh will be preserved in all its entirety, and no molecule shall rupture. You'll just be part of something stretchier.
Well, right at this moment, I think that having 4 presences is slightly more useful, wouldn't you say?
Well, okay.
Brilliant. So, party examining of the area over. It's time to begin deeper into the rig. You'll find yourself progressing towards the reactor level. Great tubes which radiate heat as you're reaching, presuming the geothermal processing plant. You can hear the thrum of turbines and extremely heavy machinery reverberating through the corridors before finally reaching your destination. So, let me go and stop that and start that. You step through into the reactor core, looming, it's dozens of feet in height. You find the amalgamated behemoth that was once the crew of platform Nephis. A giant mass of flesh and machinery, almost apart and merged with the reactor core itself. It leans in your direction as you approach. Its slack-jawed mouth opening up and roaring, and a sound of 1,000 voices from many stolen throats. The room is disgustingly warm and humid, filled with the smell of rotten sulphur. This creature's skin's covered in blotches and lumps, which writhe and twist, seemingly filled with things that crawl on the inside.
Oh, I wonder if this might be Drebin. Some of it, anyway.
He's probably in there somewhere, yes.
I'm glad I gave all this up long ago.
Oh, well, yeah, you don't want the metal bits in there. Those don't connect as well.
Okay, I think we shall move to some sort of combat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And
can we communicate with it?
you can certainly try. It doesn't appear to have any sort. On your turn, I feel on your turn.
Okay.
So the creature, which we'll have down as the amalgam behemoth, shudders slightly. One of the bulbous lumps ruptures and bursts, sending a spattering of unpleasant material across the room, which will hiss and pop as it hits some of the pipes. Emerging, almost fully formed, as some sort of core, which looks slightly larger than and better built than some of the other ones that you've seen previously, which hovers somewhat protectively around the amalgam.
See, yes, it's improving on its designs. Yes, that's a shame this is such an evil thing. Otherwise it'd be fascinating.
Round to the players.
This quickly.
Who was it that wanted to talk with it? Maybe they should do their talking before any of us do our hit.
Yeah, I wanna try something.
Okay.
Is if I'm allowed to be a little descriptive here.
Oh, go for it.
H.C.E sort of like what's the word I'm looking at? Scuttles towards it and tries to find like a surface area with the most uncovered flesh of it.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps like the postule that just opened. And their shoulder mouth starts expanding, but like past the point where the jaw like ends, it begins to sort of like crack open, and you see that like within actually I'm gonna use a metaphor here. The visual metaphor is, what if imagine a black hole sucking in a nearby star, and imagine that happening to organic matter right now. And I think after a little taste, the reverse happens, so like it becomes a white hole. And my intention here, Tom, is to insert some of H.C.E into this creature to find some connection of flesh, of cognition. Perhaps travel all the way to the basal ganglia and be like, "Hi, hello."
Let's have a toughness check, as I feel this is probably most.
I like that.
Yeah,
I'm very bad at that.
The biological equivalent to the handshake protocol.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm mediocre at this. Let's go. 14.
Okay. So you'll attempt your communication protocol with this creature. Taking in the flesh to yourself is probably the most unpleasant experience H.C.E has come across his particular life. It's so far gone past rotting. It's almost aggressively necrotic. So if you were to have done quite badly on this, it might have like poisoned you quite badly. But H.C.E's made of sterner stuff. Unfortunately, the communication appears like almost null and void, as the piece of himself that went into it is almost like corrupted and poisoned beyond any sort of recognition once it leaves his body. So unfortunately provokes a reaction, some sort of counter-attack from the defense corps, which is around the boss, which will project a jet of hot steam towards H.C.E. Have a dodge check, please. The D4 damage, which will your shield will help mitigate slightly if it does hit.
That's 12 on my defend.
Okay, that is sufficient. You managed to, presumably pulling back somewhat, possibly in disgust from this lump of dead meat, where any sort of...
I'd like to think that sort of like the part where H.C.E is currently split open just like widens a little bit to dodge the steam, and it passes through them. And he closes back up and he turns to the rest of the party and goes like, "Well, diplomacy failed. Fuck him up."
Love it. Right, round to the rest of the party then.
Right you are. And I think Cuthbert's going to try his much more useful phase pistol.
Mhm.
And let's hope I don't roll another one.
What would you like to shoot at? There is the amalgam itself taking the central room. There is also the core, which is floating around it.
I think I'll take a shot at the core. Just to kill the ads kind of a thing.
Sounds
Any
good.
armor or shields on it?
Yes, it has. It's considered to be light armor.
Well, there we are then.
That'll be a 12 because of H.C.E's thing. So you'll manage to deal 3 points of damage to the core, which takes the crack, but doesn't provoke an attack like has happened with H.C.E. So, next.
Moira's catching what Cuthbert's putting down here. I think Moira's also gonna attack the core, although she's gonna try to position herself to protect the buddies, but still within range to hit the core as best she can.
Okay, you attempt to take a swing at it as it doing looping routes around the amalgam.
Yeah, she watches it and watches the cycle of that loop to be like, all right, once it goes around up like this, I catch it on its way down, because I assume it's predictable enough like that being a bot.
Absolutely.
You said it's light armor, so 1d2.
Yeah.
See what I get. I rolled a 10, which is going to be +2 with H.C.E's help. I figure, right?
Yep. So you managed to give it a slight knock, which does look like it's damaged it, but not quite taken it out. So next on the list, we're on to Gordian.
Yeah. So Gordian, being their particular design and class, being somebody who can use data slates as a data miner, has one slate. And because of the way that this has been rolled, I have one charge of this one slate. So I have been very carefully holding on to it until now. So Gordian thinks back on the kind of like explanation of this amalgam is siphoning power from the rest of the station to fuel itself. And the data slate that they have is Virus Creeper. One creature immediately obeys a single command as long as it isn't obviously suicidal. And I guess you can tell me whether this would be suicidal or not, and if it's not, if it is, it's useful information. I guess I will. Shall I give my command first, or shall I do the roll first?
Do the roll first, because that's you crafting the code into because it's pseudo magic.
Yeah, with both hands, Gordian draws infinite fractal geometrical shapes in the air. Did that actually come into his 3? No, I'm gonna spend my omen. And,
good shout.
and re-roll that. Absolutely not. God damn it.
Okay, slightly better than the other time. You're beginning to trace the code, but I'm going to say you haven't quite finished it yet. So rather than you continuing to craft it,
I lose my action this turn for it maybe to fire later.
Yeah, you'll probably have to use your action. You'll get another shot at it next turn, I think. Okay, moving on to the amalgam. Several of the pustules and bumps on the thing suddenly ripple, and several very short-lived smaller drones with various cuts of bladed metal explode outwards, shining all directions, and somewhat reminiscent of what the drones did to you way back when you were up on the port side. They'll have agility
the
checks.
good old days.
Happy times. They'll have agility checks from everybody, please.
Okay. Bad.
Oh,
Across the board, I like
Oh
it.
my.
did I roll 2? Sorry.
Yeah, everybody. It's a room-wide attack.
Room-wide agility. Oh, let me show you how it's sort of done.
So it is dodge, so H.C.E is probably the only one who actually manages to dodge this. Everybody else takes 2 points of damage, mitigated by armor.
I do actually have 1d2.
With my armor, I take nothing.
Lucky, no damage.
Yeah.
You managed to go out from some of these things. You'll notice one of the other bulges appears to be straining somewhat. The drone whizzes around again, increasing its sort of frequency of scans, but looks like it's not going to attack unless the amalgam itself comes under threat.
So, did I hear correctly that there, in addition to the defense drone, there were additional drones that just spawned in this turn?
They
here
spawned in, slammed into people, and basically very short-lived, either cracking against your armor, causing bruising or cuts, or slapping
more
against
like
the
bullets than full drones.
yeah, about the size of sort of larger than a baseball kind of thing.
Got it.
Let me know in this run of our actions when Gordian's turn comes around again. I'm happy to leave that up to the gem rather than me inserting myself in, considering what I'm doing.
Right, yeah. Let's have a think. Okay, we'll let somebody go first. Whoever wants to act next, I think.
Sure, I'll take a swing at things. By that, I mean I'll swing at it.
You going for the amalgam or the drone again?
No, I feel rejected. So my beef's personal, and my beef is personal. I will have you know. So I'd like to roll my big bone flail.
Okay.
Enemy armor?
None. It just
Oh,
hasn't.
thank goodness.
It's
No
also
shield.
quite easy to hit
Okay.
because it's pretty mobile.
No shield?
No shield. That will not be enough, I'm afraid. Rather than actually dodge, because this thing's like an immobile block of Boneflow connects with something that's probably like part of the rig itself, rather than anything particularly vital to this thing's sort of dead space, as it were. Gordian, you feel a slight tingling on your finger. The same one that you received the shock from that piece of code that you had a look at when you were in port that you weren't able to decipher, and feel an odd sort of sensation. And you almost feel like the code's a bit easier to follow at this point. You'll have another check.
Okay, I think rules is written because I flubbed that roll. I no longer have any presence castings, but if you're allowing me, we'll go for it.
It's more fun.
Because okay, we'll do the roll, and then if this roll flubs it too, then we will do the cool thing. Okay, there we go.
So the code flows from you, and you feel again like a sort of weird static disconnect that you sort of felt again when you did this, but the words of command come to your well, I'd say throat, but
yeah, well, that's the thing. It almost is kind of like a welling up in what remains of Gordian's throat as the cube fully moves away from the rest of the body, and kind of almost a large the kind of like alchemy symbol on that one face of the cube kind of opens up, and there is like a large aperture lens like an eye as it sends out a large number of scanning lasers over the entire space that kind of you see the grid lines on on the amalgam as the mouth and empty voice box says a single word: disconnect.
Ooh.
Okay. Some level of obeying occurs as there's probably several large sort of hissing explosions as several of the pipes from the back of the amalgam separate, spraying scalding hot steam in an area behind it. And where it was quite dark and dingy in this room, it sort of lights up for a moment as the actual standard rig controls start taking hold once again. The amalgam itself shaking and taking. Roll me 3d6, please.
Oh. 4, 3, and 4.
Okay.
Solidly average.
Relatively catastrophic damage as parts of flesh slough off the creature. Its mouth opens up and it roars in some level of pain, and dozens of other tiny mouths open up, echoing in a cacophony of noise. Which I'm going to have. Who's next to the thing? That's probably going to be Moira and.
Probably me again, yeah.
Yeah, and H.C.E, I think. Can I have toughness checks from the pair of you?
Of
Oh,
course,
since you've been
anytime.
up in
Aye,
the
aye,
mix.
aye, aye.
Ooh.
17 from Moira.
Nice.
14.
Okay, this shakes you, but doesn't have any particular effects.
Yeah, no, H.C.E goes, nice try, I'm worse.
Gordian, the Defence Corps does not seem particularly happy about this state of affairs, as the amalgam is currently blasting steam from all sorts of the pipes and tubes as it's trying to leach whatever power it still can, having done a semi-full disconnect from the actual rig systems, and will take a blast of steam in your direction.
Absolutely.
Have some sort of check,
Let's make a
please.
defense roll. Modifiers. What's the enemy damage on that?
It is D4, but it is will ignore armor. As it
I mean,
is just-
this could kill me in one hit. Let's go. It doesn't kill me in one hit.
Wonderful. You're blasted by a jet of this super hot steam, which presumably as you're in the middle of your command to the thing, potentially knocks you back. And
Oh my god, that was a d4 on the damage, so if I didn't roll full on the defense, that would have immediately killed me.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, Gordian drops to 1 HP in after the cube kind of reattaching, there is like a massive shot through, I think, their right arm, and that mechanical arm just fully detaches and skitters to the floor.
Nice. So yeah, that's still the player's turn. Quite a lot so far. So I believe we've got who's next on the line for.
Cuthbert
I
and
think that
Moira
would be
haven't gone
me.
yet.
Yep.
I believe Cuthbert's going to now try and redirect and going to give Gordian some of that purified animus. Yeah, here you are. It should still work on you. It's rather multi-purpose sort of situation.
Just make sure you didn't mix it with the bad stuff.
Oh, no. I keep everything labeled rather nicely.
One says bad, one says good.
Do you roll for the
Well,
I
yeah.
mean overheal.
Yeah.
I think this
Metal.
animus has almost like nanotechnology properties, and it starts auto-stitching the separated limb back together.
Lovely.
You'll be right as
I
rain.
have
Okay. Next.
That's that. I've got a turn, right?
Yeah.
Moira's just playing whack-a-mole with this dang defense drone. She's just taking the swipes, hoping one of them hits.
Oh, have you been applying the +2 I'm giving you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I get it anymore, right? Wasn't it
This
going
is
to
The
the
last round of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like I'm gonna hit unless a 9 is enough.
Do you have an omen you can use?
I think I already used my omen, and I think I only had the
Um,
one.
Oh, really?
You're lucky that you have two. The randomized roll character generation is very cruel in this game.
Oh.
It is a fickle beast, unfortunately. Okay, the attack swings past the defender core.
Oh, Moira is so frustrated. She was always bad at whack-a-mole back when the world
Oh
was
my
still
God.
good enough to have some of it. She was a
Wait.
little kid. She could never get any points then. She was better at skee ball. It's all
We have
coming back.
We have like a gruesome military flashback, like a traumatic memory of whack-a-mole.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
like you're
yeah.
standing in a field, your hands are bloody. I could have saved him.
Yeah, the moles were more literal in my version of whack-a-mole.
So I think everybody will be round to the behemoth again, disconnected from the rig, and possibly realizing that it's whatever, if any, intelligence or survival instincts left in the creature. It shudders somewhat horribly, and the core moves off and implants itself into the chest of the entity. And another one of those, I'll tell you a more red and bloodied version of the smaller amalgams.
I just smushed.
Or did
Yeah,
they just
I'm just-
Voltron together? Oh shit.
A little bit. I'm trying to get the other one to go in front. Ah, there we go. To front. There we go. As it rips itself out of the chrysalis-like nature of the behemoth itself. Apparently going to trailing flesh and wires behind it. Apparently having one last surge of energy to attempt to deal with its attackers. And it will swing its unpleasant flail in the direction of Moira, while turning its gaze upon Cuthbert and firing off a blast of superheated steam. So we'll have dodges from both of you.
Am I doing 1d8 for enemy damage? 'Cause that's
1d8
in
and
my
Cuthbert's going to get a d4.
Okay.
Oh, actually no, boss mode, d6. I'm feeling generous. Nah, that's fine. Okay, 2 points damage taken. Cuthbert.
And I got hit with 5.
Yeah.
That even applied my armor. So
Solid crack from
yeah.
his things. It's probably less of a bone flail this time, and more just made up of a horrible mass of stacks of metal and rigging from the boiler.
Yeah.
That sends Moira back because she's down at 2. Down to 2 HP.
Oh. I think H.C.E. is gonna scuttle. Like, it's gonna grow some extra pair of legs to scuttle closer to Moira faster to cover.
Brings new meaning to the phrase "grow a pair."
I think like you hear a whisper underneath the cloak going, "Are you okay?"
Not really anymore.
Oh, get Cuthbert. There's one person who haven't supped on the juice.
Well, I've got one more. I've got one more purified animus to go, and after that, I'm bone dry.
Nice. I'll distract these hoodlums. You patch up Moira.
Righto.
I'd like to make a move now.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to hit this thing with just a piece of its own medicine, but it's better looking medicine. Let's go. Enemy armor.
Going to be a light on this.
2?
Yeah.
2. Okay, and no shield.
No shit.
Perfect. Oh, not perfect. I'm going to re-roll this
Okay.
because that's disgusting to me. Let's try this again. That's worse. That is worse. Oh my god. Hold on.
Oh,
I have- Okay, I have my omen still. I am going to re-roll again.
Okay.
I'm going to.
Yeah, all right. I'll allow one reroll, but this will be the last one.
Don't worry, I don't need more. See.
At least it doesn't break in your hands.
No, this is true. After probably stumbling over some of the slippy remains of the larger amalgam core, the behemoth. So that's not quite enough as your +2 has evaporated. You'll swing the flail round and it'll catch it in its hand and deflect it, leaning towards you and hissing. There's lots of steam around the area.
Well, that's you too.
Next.
I think.
suppose
Oh, sorry.
We
Go
could
ahead.
we could just go ahead and deal with the healing. You know.
I'd love that.
All right.
Mm.
We'll rush over to Moira and, I guess, lovingly pour a vial of purified animus down her throat.
Normally, I'm never excited about your cooking, but I think it'll help this time.
Is that your last one?
That will be my last one. Yes.
Oh, you're gonna have to nudge yourself up a bit so you actually stay on camera. There you go.
3 health is recovered. You failed the animus doing its magic.
I've still got a first aid kit, but that's probably going to be less useful than these were, unfortunately. But down the hatch.
Alright, that brings me to 5 HP, which is manageable.
Not quite out of OHKO territory, but much better.
I've got some hitting to get back to. So Moira kind of like shakes her head back and forth. Probably doesn't do anything, but she thinks it like helps the animus get to get to her brain. It's probably just an old wives' tale she heard. But once she feels like she's got enough juice back in her, she's gonna rush in with honestly, kind of a desperate swing at this thing.
Mm-hmm. Pray to the dice gods.
1d2 armor, no shield.
Ooh.
What did I do? Wow, I think like the third
Yeah.
nat 20 I've gotten.
Yeah.
Double
I
down.
feel bad, but I'll take it.
Yeah. So it appears to have actually removed the armor, but it shouldn't have done because that was a crit. This is actually going to be the blow that fells the thing.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
So let's have a description of Moira as this thing which is shambling, struggling with H.C.E. and has pushed it away, and looks up to Moira descending upon it at speed.
Yeah, Moira, I think you can see, like, we've seen a lot of Moira's flashbacks. That's kind of been, like, a lot of the things we've gone to with Moira's attacks. And I think this time, instead of that, like, instead of getting a flashback, you just see each time Moira's taken a hit for this squad, just in this adventure itself. And the camera almost makes it look like she's bracing to take another hit for the team. But her like expert training and her time, you know, she's a veteran at this point, and she's just got a counterattack swipe timed perfectly, so she's able to smack it clean out of the way of the being able to do any danger, and probably swipes with all her might, but doesn't actually expect that the thing's gonna go down, and when it does, that's a big sigh of relief for Moira.
Do you say a cool line as you go and land the blow, though, is important?
Oh boy, cool line. We got an amalgam creature, so she's gonna say, time to break up this flesh party. No, I don't have anything.
No,
With
we
the
can work.
dramatic
You say
zoom in, yes.
messy. This is gonna be a messy breakup.
That's
Ooh.
there we go. That's what I say. That's wonderful. Thank you for the assist.
Okay, hold on. In that case, we're gonna rewind that. There we go. We're gonna take that from the top. The director is all kind of like, no. The line is right. Okay.
It's gonna
From
be a
the
messy
top.
breakup.
The Moira's modified hammer lands with vibrating rum into the head that was formerly the defense core, sending it flying backwards, tearing the remains of whatever was giving this thing motion from the torso of it. And it collapsed into a bloody mess of rotten flesh and scrap metal. Nev, may I ask group's permission for a very mild amount of overrun, if everyone's...
If everybody's cool with doing so, will we do the wrap-up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
I'm good. Yeah.
So, party is quite successful in their dealing of the moment. A sigh of relief as the everything seems to calm down a bit. The lights on the rig come back, and the temperature almost seems to be re-regulating again. As almost you feel the building itself breathe a slight sigh of relief. You'll then hear a crackle over the comms, and you'll recognise the voice of Wally coming across. Check 1, broadcasting on all frequencies. This is Wally Dustat, last surviving member of the crew of the platform Nethys. Executor Shaela, if you can hear this, fuck you, this is for my boys. To the rest of you, there's probably enough time to get to the boat. Good luck, he'll say. And a lot of alarms start going off.
Oh dear.
No! Oh no!
The rig begins to shake.
I told you we should have dispatched this. I'm going to amplify this. I told you so, and every mouth says it at the same time.
The rig itself, the very room you're in, starts vibrating. There's a lot of very unhelpful alarms going off, which is, obviously what you need in this sort of situation. As various gauges around the room are starting to rapidly accelerate into the red.
I'm running. Who do I need to carry? She just assumes that she has to carry someone. Usually she does in these situations.
That's very nice.
I want to make a roll for that, if that makes sense, because Gordian's agility is pretty poor. It's at a -2. And if I roll bad, there is a thing that I would want to do to take you up on that offer, if that's
Sure.
all right with the table.
I assume the party's trying to travel as a group, but we'll have agility checks, because obviously the lowest one's the one I care about.
Oh shit!
That's probably gonna be me too.
Okay, so we all roll. That's a 5. Oh dear. Oh goodness. Well, it's all up to me. No, it's not. So that's a 0. That's impressive.
That is. H.C.E. in a bit of presumably running. Maybe too many legs or not enough.
Yeah, my 5 legs. I'm like Flintstonesing, but falling over myself.
Okay.
It's a meta living.
Okay, so the party is progressing as fast as they can through the
Not fair.
which turns out is quite terrifyingly not. Oh, we must be nearly there, Moser. I was sort of imagining kind of like going up the side of the Shinra building.
I mean, it took us 2 hours to get down here.
Various blasts of steam coming from the straining pipes. You will notice there does appear to be some sort of service elevator, which is lit up, which you hadn't previously seen before.
Because we got the power back on. Yay.
Do we trust elevators? How we feel about elevators?
We shouldn't really be using a lift in an emergency, but it'll take us more than 2 hours to get back up if we run up the flight of stairs.
Well, it's either the lift or the stairs, yes. So, I think we've got one choice at this point.
I'm neutral towards lifts, but we should take this one.
Okay, you jump into the lift, which immediately starts heading up through the various levels of the engineering
Moira
decks.
smashing the closed door button.
Yeah, there's that moment as you all settle in, that little awkward
No, it's
bit.
just a dummy button. Just, I mean, well, okay, go on then.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know how the things work.
The lift lurches somewhat terrifyingly as you head up through the levels of the rig at a speed you'd have been quite pleased of much earlier in the day, but now almost feels slightly too slow for what you particularly want. And the lift will open up in the top levels of the engineering with the open door to the hab decks in front of you.
Yeah, still sprinting.
I'm not
Okay.
sure if this is better or worse once we've got the out of the muzak and the lift. On we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to find our getaway boat. Do we get eyes on it now that we're in the upper part of the deck?
Yeah,
here?
you can see the rig itself outside is shaking somewhat violently, and yeah, you sprint out of the habitation area, head down the steps onto the dock, and you can see Anya as actually let's.
As we move back up the levels, yeah.
Yeah, so through habitation, and finally to the outside, and you will see, apparently, seeing that something is going on the rig has pulled a little bit closer, but not too close because it does look like the rig's going caca cuckoo at the moment, which isn't the best of looks. Seeing you outside, she'll wave at you frantically to jump for it. As you make it to the boat.
Oh shit,
Well,
on
this-
a 9. We did it, lads.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you'd rolled better, you might have had a chance to get to Wally, potentially, I think. But given those rolls,
Nah.
He's the one who set the thing to explode. He can take the
Yeah.
brunt of it as far as I'm concerned. Dude's
So-
got a definite clearly.
Absolutely, as the biggest middle finger to Executioner Shaela. So, the party land on the boat, which accelerates away somewhat from the now doomed rig. You'll see the, I said the rig shuddering, and the waves around you almost bouncing the boat that you're in somewhat. There's then a sort of slight moment of silence, and then a colossal blast as a huge plume of steam shoots through the entire rig of itself, fires breaking out all over it, sending a black cloud hundreds upon hundreds of meters up into the air. You're not sure you'll get paid for this.
I was gonna say, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
Well, quite frankly, I'm not even sure I want to go risk going back and seeing her.
I think.
Yeah, happy to be alive.
Well, it's implied that she was responsible for the entire situation to begin with, right? So, I suppose a visit might be warranted justice. That's what I think.
Personally, I want to be here once it gets dark, since this was the main power source for the area. If we return to shore any later than now, we'd be, well, in complete darkness aside from what backup generators they got going. So, if there was any time to escape unseen, maybe now.
It would be. Well, Anna, let's head home.
On it goes. And I think on that point, the camera will presumably pan back as we see the smouldering remains and great plume of smoke seen for presumably miles away, and probably notably from Fathom's Edge itself, as word will be very soon getting back to your employer about the current state of affairs. As, I feel the camera probably just finishes with a pair of eyes underwater, narrowing slightly, and the show. And Congratulations, you all survived. Well done,
Yeah.
everybody.
Hey.
Yeah. I wanna
Shocking.
ask, can I have a post-credit scene? 'Cause
Oh, absolutely. The credits will roll, and do we have what sort of music should we have for this?
Oh,
Nathan?
I got you. We got that.
Thank you.
The alternate for Sire for Shaela. There we go.
Okay, so I'd like to have H.C.E sort of like enter the same dark room as they met the executioner. What was her name again?
Shaela.
Shaela.
Shaela, yeah. And I just whatever. I think like there's like it's just mouths are moving, but you can't hear what's saying because it's a post-credit scene. And she's super angry, and she's threatening all sorts of things to be done to H.C.E, all sorts of parts to be cut off. And then I think it zooms in on H.C.E's like face mouth curling up into a smirk, and then their shoulder mouth opening and widening and saying, "You know, I haven't eaten since leaving the rig." And the same effect of like the black hole metaphor happens as they like start sucking on the glass and it pulverizing and sort of like the glass breaking. You see the first droplets of water shoot towards the shoulder mouth, and I guess it cuts out on like the same eyes of Sheila underwater, but this time more and more terrified.
Oh, I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Okay. Well done, everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun.
Let me take
Very
things
fun.
over to the wait screen with all of our Twitter handles as we go and do, I think, a slightly more briefer wrap up than normal.
Yeah.
Would everybody like to do comments and kudos, or shall we just go to the kind of like self-promotional section, which obviously has to be present?
I'm fine with whichever.
Okay.
Uh,
Intro 2, what do you think, Draco?
Oh, comments and kudos. Well, this was a very fun introduction to this system, and I can see how it could get very brutal very quickly. And I'm glad that I had enough purified animus to actually carry people over. This is a fascinating world, Tom, and I'm really hoping
so
at some
cool.
point we can come back and try something else in it and see a little bit more of it.
I want to go to all these other places on the map.
Right?
I was like, when I heard Cats provided me with this, like, this is quite a good little world. This we'll have to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, we'll talk a little bit about upcoming streams and things like that at the end of show, because there's some stuff going on in the real world that is a counter to that in the short term. But yes, this is definitely a really interesting. I'm not much of a high fantasy person. And although BORG's setting is very elaborate, a large chunk of the opening of the book is very, very much establishing its grimy sludge metal, doom metal world. This kind of dystopian sci-fi thing is a lot more my speed, so I enjoy this remix of it. But yeah, this has been fantastic. It's always great to none of these players are new to the channel, but this is a unique combination of people. So I think everybody's harmonized delightfully. But let's go and do self-promo bits and pieces, because all these people are fantastic, and you should follow them on the various Twitters that we currently have on screen. But in addition to that, who wants to do some self-promo?
Yeah, I'd like to do that. Hi, I'm Ruben. Like I said, I do a lot of writing, but what you can really do is support me directly by subscribing to @PhantomArtsEnt, so that the channel that I just keep appearing on can grow. And honestly, that's what I'm here for, to help Nathan, to help everyone be filled in a to masticate upon great queer fiction and tabletop live streams. So go do that.
Thank you. Draco?
I can. Oh, yep.
I mean, you can go first if you want to.
Sure. I've been Wheels. You can find me at Singular Wheels on Twitter, but more importantly, you can buy my book of random tabletop encounters at bit.ly/random book with a capital R and B, or the link in the Twitch chat right now.
Yeah. Draco?
Well, I am Draco, and again, you can find me at worldofvania.card.co, as well as the Twitter handle on screen. And if you're looking for a bit of a fantasy world with sort of working toward positivity vibes, you can check out some of our short stories, but we also do a little bit of horror, and the books themselves are about a singular character and her growth and learning to understand herself and the world around her.
And you can normally find me on twitch.tv/the Neoncaster, although under current circumstances we will be going on a month's hiatus. I am currently moving house, you see, and I will not necessarily be in a position to stream until like the first week of June, the end of the first week of June, more or less. But I will be spending, actually, this month working on a Troika project that I talked about a couple of weeks ago. I want to do a handful of backgrounds and maybe some spells and items for characters based on what I like to call surrealist urban fantasy. Your Earthbounds, your Omoris, your Offs, your Hylixes. And a bunch of characters and backgrounds inspired by that, because I feel it blends fantastically with the kind of surrealist fantasy that Troika enjoys doing. In fact, there is a jam on itch.io right now called the Gamer Games Jam. Which I think I can't remember what specific like Twitter post this was like an angry response to, as most itch.io jams tend to be, but it is specifically encouraging tabletop RPGs inspired by video games. I already have a general submission there of Heartbeats in Perfect Sync, which is a tabletop RPG inspired by the likes of The World Ends With You, Under Night in Birth, and various other urban fantasy Japanese RPG things, but I will be submitting this second entry into that as well. Speaking of RPGs that I have written, there is a book that exists called The Ultimate Tabletop RPG book. It is a very, very imaginative. It's a name that describes what it does very straightforwardly. It's very easy to understand, but it contains 40 micro RPGs, of which mine is one of them. It's called On All Frequencies, which is following a bunch of people who work at a radio station on a day of disaster, and the GM does not speak, but instead changes the background music to set the tone. It is, I would personally describe, fucking cool. And I've been given 5 copies of that book by Simon & Schuster Publishing, the people that are currently publishing Wheels' upcoming book, and I am giving away those copies for free to people who record an actual play of any of my tabletop RPGs, whether that is via podcast, whether that is via actual play stream, or whether that is a prose written replay of your session. As long as you send that to me, I will mail a signed copy of the book to you. What a great deal, he says, with increasing amounts of desperation to get people to play his very cool tabletop RPGs. And on what parting note shall I leave this on? This game's cool. Support indie tabletop RPGs regardless of who makes them. Be gay, do crimes, and I will see all of you in June. But until then, farewell.
May its glands endure 1,000 years.